We're going to start this evening's class with a chest opener. And because of the type of posture, um, we're going to spend a bit of time in it because you don't want to move in quickly or out of it quickly. I'm actually going to use a block for behind my head, and the brick is going to go in between the shoulder blades, tip of the bottom tip of the shoulder blade, so it's going across the body. So I kind of guesstimate, where my head's going to be, where my ribs are going to be, and I'll adjust as I need to. They're on the center line at the moment. I'm just going to gradually ease my way down, so coming down onto my elbows, keeping the knees up, and just starting to get an idea of where that prop is in the middle of my back. So I want it to really be at the bottom of the tip of the rib, so you can kind of feel that pressing in easily if you've got a hard block underneath your brick. And I've got my head on the block behind me. Now, some people will be more than happy to take the block out, and if your body allows you to extend in your spine that much, then that's great. For some of us, that probably would be a little bit too much, especially if you come into this and you're feeling your neck being cranked and sort of a lot of pressure in the neck. It could feel very loose and uncongested around here. So allow yourself to kind of feel yourself into that. Now you can leave the feet wide, close in, and knees together like a teepee. If you feel comfortable enough, you can slowly lengthen one heel at a time out to the corner edges, or just have the hands by the side. And all we do is breathe. And we're letting that thoracic spine open up. It's quite a big stretch, quite a big manipulation. There's not a lot of movement by design in the spine to move in this direction. And we want to make sure that we're trying to get an opening in the thoracic, not just flushing or cracking into the thoracic and lumbar joint where those two vertebrae meet, which quite often you see an extreme sort of bend in people's back, a little bit sort of down towards the bottom of the ribs. It is in between the spine in the thoracic. Now, I'd always recommend that if you're not totally sure, less is definitely more. Lower height, smaller prop. Can use rolled up blankets, cushions, things like that. Even a book, sort of A5 size. Obviously, thickness is your choice. Now, to come back out of this, we're going to slide the heels along the ground towards us, so they're close in. Take the right arm out to the side, lower the knees down first, and then allow yourself to roll off to the side. And you'll need to draw your knees in towards your chest whilst you're lying on the side, just for 30 seconds or so to breathe. So we're moving the spine a little bit more from the extension towards flexion. few breaths. Lengthen the top leg out. Press into the hands, and we can move the prop out to the side. Whilst we're here, I'll lengthen the legs out towards the front of the mat. I'm going to take the hands behind. The hands are going to be about shoulder distance apart. It's not that important whether the hands are pointing forward, sideways, or backwards, whatever feels more comfortable in your wrist and forearm. And then I'm going to carry on with that extension in the spine by lifting the chest up, rolling the shoulders back. And I'm going to try to let the head lengthen out, following the line from the tailbone. So I'm not dropping the head back completely. This is quite strong around the back of the neck and the top of the shoulders. And literally imagine that you're lifting your heart up towards the sky. That's the sensation that you get. You can press the sitting bones into the floor a little bit and lengthen out through the legs, or roll the thighs inwards, point the toes out. And then we'll release. Come back to sitting again. You're going to lie down onto the floor now. So we'll draw the feet in towards us. We're going to make sure there's enough room. Rolling back gently through the spine to come down onto the mat with the head. And we're going to take a figure four. So we're going to bring the feet in towards the body. Knees are high. We'll extend the left leg up towards the sky. Turn the toes out. Bend the knee. Take a little breath. We're going to pivot the shin of this left leg across the right thigh, and we're going to drive very gently and slowly to the thigh and the knee forwards to the front of the mat, keeping the foot flex. Then we'll come up onto the tiptoes, take a breath in, and draw the tummy down so the lower back stays in the floor connected. We'll draw the knees together as a pair in, that left hand comes through the center. We're going to take the hands around the shin or the back of the thigh, whatever is easiest. And then we'll take a little breath from there. And we'll spine back down again. And then exhale, lengthen out towards the front of the mat. So chin into the chest. Lift the chest towards the side. Raise the legs, but extend out so we can look at the toes. Roll that ankle around a few times. And then roll the spine back down to the floor, bringing the foot to the ground. We'll take the opposite leg up, and the toes out. Yeah, we bend the knee gently, ankle bone to the outside. We spend a moment just kind of releasing and letting this right knee travel forwards a little bit, as much as it can. Then tiptoe, draw the tummy muscles down, that lower back connects to the floor. We draw in, into chest, or lift the chest up. Put the hands around the chin. And then ease the spine back down to the floor. So trying to get the spine to be as flat and as connected to the ground as they can. Now, there's always the option to take the hands around the back of the thigh, but we're trying to go for bigger stretches this evening, and hopefully you're doing this in the evening, in which case your body has spent the day opening up. We draw the chin to the chest, stuck in that little squeeze in the sit-up position. Release the hands, the spine back down to the floor, feet to the ground, and stretch that leg out again, put the ankles round, and foot down to the floor. We'll take the opposite foot back up again and extend the leg up towards the sky. This time we're going to take the arms out to the side, through to the fixed style, bend the knee. We're going to do exactly the same. So the foot drops out towards the right side, the ankle bone. Going to move the hips gently over towards the left, and then when they're back down the ground, we're going to let that left foot and the legs roll over towards the right side. Now we're trying to get the foot pressed down into the floor, that's closest to us. So at the same time, push the knee towards the front of the mat. So hopefully the shin on the leg down to the right side is as close to vertical as it can be, maybe a little bit past that. And you should be able to feel that in the around about the IT band, if you know where it is on the outside of your hip. And then we'll bring ourselves back up. Move the hips back towards the center, untangle the legs. We'll take out to free the leg up. Bring the foot down, we'll flip over to the opposite side on the inhale, send the toes out, bend the knee again. We'll just take that little moment to kind of absorb the knee traveling forwards, get the foot flexed. We'll move the hips over to the right, and the legs are going to go down to the left. And pressing the top foot flat to the floor. Pushing when you lean just towards the front of the mat. That deep stretch. And that sort of outside edge at the top of the hip. So it's towards the back and high of the pelvis. And we'll lift that leg back up. Bring the hips back, then the leg out. This time we'll bring both knees in towards the body. Then comes towards the chest, and then chest lifts up, wrap the arms around. You can rock gently from side to side here. Sometimes that feels good on the spine. We'll take another breath in and we'll roll onto the right side, keeping the legs in. And once they're on the ground safely, we'll use the hands to lift up. We're going to spin around and going to come up onto all fours. We'll take the flat block in between your thighs, portrait, down towards the toes, bring the knees together, take a little breath, sit slowly back. I want to make sure the sitting bones are actually sitting on something, the feet are outside edge of the hips, toes are pointing backwards. Now I'm just going to let the spine rest for a moment. And when we come into this, quite often the calf muscles react a little bit by going tight. It takes 30 to 40 seconds to release. That's happening. The knees are opening out a little bit. Enjoy just sitting up nice and tall and letting the spine sort of rebuild itself, stacking those bones one on top of the other. Okay, you're going to use the hands to lift up. Move that block out of the way. We'll take it out to the side again. Going to come up onto all fours. Put the toes underneath this time. And we're into the more raised version of that, giving a big stretch into the toes. We'll take the arms out wide. We'll bring the left arm across, right arm over the top. So allowing ourselves to come into eagle arms. We're going to purposely let the arms sink in towards the chest, so the elbows as low as possible, hands just in front of the face. Use the hands down. Untap the toes again, so we can sit right on top of the heels. We'll take the arms out wide, and we'll bring the arms across the opposite way. So left arm on top. And ease our way down. Hands onto the ground. We'll take the knees wide and allow myself to come into child's pose. Lifting the head, looking towards the hands, and walk them out towards the right side. Get the hands about shoulder distance apart. Let the body sink down again. So thin and stretch down the sides of the body a lot more, opening the ribs out. Inhale, look towards the hands. Go across to the opposite side. Lift the head, come back to the center. I'm going to lift the body up about 45 degrees, and we're going to take this into a twist. So I'm going to feed the left arm out towards the right side, drop the shoulder into the floor, and then walk the right hand, keeping the arm straight, over towards the left corner. So it really presses my top arm onto the ear. And I'll walk the fingers back towards the right side, lift up, and hands out in front, that little bit of a lift. The left arm, the right arm goes under towards the left side, and then the left hand crosses towards the right. The secret here is to keep that arm straight, so it rotates the body around a little more. And then we walk the hand back, left to left, press into the ground, lift up. Put the hands in a little further, and we're going to come up onto all fours, bring the knees underneath, take a little breath. Put the toes underneath, we'll move into down dog just for a moment to access a forward bend. We're going to walk the hands towards the toes, bending the knees enough to get the ribs and the thighs to touch. We'll take a few breaths here. We'll bring the hands onto the hips, soften the knees, let ourselves lift up. We'll take it out as we walk into the front end of the mat. And bring the hands together in towards the heart. We'll take a breath, we'll exhale down to the floor. Hands onto the shins, lift up halfway. Exhale down. And the shins again. Exhale down. Those shins. And down. Bring the hands onto the hips again. Soften the knees and let ourselves lift up. Bring the hands in towards the heart and feed the feet together, little gaps in the ankle bones as we soften the knees, squeezing them together. We're sitting down into chair pose. And take a breath and allow ourselves to take both hands out in front. We'll inhale, and on the exhale, we're going to draw the left hand down to the floor towards the back of the mat. So we're twisting the body around that left side. Inhale the hand up and over, and then we're going to squat down. Let the ribs and the thighs meet. Head drops in. We'll just draw the fingers along the floor. Put the hands behind us up towards the sky. Inhale the hands forward, drop the bottom down a little bit more. Now get the ribs right on top of the thighs, so the body is parallel to the ground. And then drive through the legs, keeping the spine long from the hip. Bring the hands in towards the heart, soften the knees, into a chair. Take both hands out in front. That right hand drops down. You look towards the hand as it moves towards the back of the mat. Let's float it over the top on the inhale. Bring it back down to the floor, squatting onto the thighs. Sweeping the arms behind. Taking them forward. Parallel to the body as we take a breath. And then drive through the legs to lift up. Hands in towards the heart. We'll take that sweep side again one more time. Soften the knees. Hands out in front. Left arm goes back. We swoop it over the top, bring it through, down to the floor, and then forward. Rise through the leg. There's that little pause at the bottom. Hands to the heart, sign of the sign. Soften into chair, hands out in front. Right arm goes back. Let the eyes follow the fingertips. Over and up. All the way down. Loosen the hands forward. Rise through the leg. Hands into the heart. We'll exhale down from here, slightly stronger with the feet together this time. Toes tucked. Weights in the toes. Take a little breath from here and step back gently into a plank. And then we'll let the knees come down directly underneath the hip. We're going to take cat-cow, so we draw forward, elbow into the sky, exhaling. So you probably worked out that we're trying to loosen up this spine of ours a lot by stretching it in as many different ways as we can. The reason is we're leading to a pose called scorpion pose, which is a twisting posture where we float from one side to the other. And we just really need to warm the spine up as much as we can in as many directions as possible. Bring the chest forward again into neutral. We're coming down onto the elbows. We'll stretch the feet back into a plank. Ease the hips carefully down to the floor. Now allow yourself to have your forearms pressing into the ground. So the palms are now up towards the sky, thumbs are out to the side. You're going to lift up in your Sphinx pose, draw the belly in, so you're trying to lift your tailbone, you're trying to lift your belly button from the ground, whilst lengthening your tailbone out. Too many words there. We're going to take a little breath. We're just going to work on the legs and the glutes a little bit. So we're going to squeeze slowly the right heel in towards the butt, and then let it back down again. This can be a little bit troublesome on the knees, so if you need to lift the thigh off the ground a little bit to make some space, that's perfectly okay. A little squeeze, just little beginnings of clench, so you can feel the hamstring and the glute working. Remember, we're trying to keep the tummy drawn in the whole time. We're pressing into the forearms, lifting the chest, so there's a lot going on. Walking over to the opposite side. Let the legs come down, hands come to the floor underneath the bottom of the rib cage, shoulders back, heel away from the floor as you lift up. We're onto all fours, fingers out towards the front of the mat, lifting into down dog. We'll take a few breaths here, and then we're going to take it into a sort of a down dog squat into a side plank. Might sound a bit confusing, but once to demonstrate it, it will seem very simple. Let's take a couple more breaths here, lifting the hips up and back, and the back to the legs straighten well. Once you have your feet, at least one of your feet distance apart. So nothing to do with inches and centimeters, just actual feet. And take a breath and pivot on the balls of the feet, taking the heels over towards your left. Now you're going to bend your knees, allow yourself to squat your bottom back towards your heels, dragging your right hand along the floor to the side. Now it's going to go out towards the knees, and then as you stretch the legs out and open them up, you're going to take that right arm up and out towards the front of the mat. We'll bring it back into the squat, drop the hand down to the floor, turn ourselves gently back into our down dog high, take the breath, take the feet over towards the right, soften the knees, so squatting in towards the heels, Left arm's drawn back over the top. You lengthen out. You come back. Hands to the floor. Down dog. You go over to the left with the feet. Open the knees. Extend it out. Bring it back. Hands to the floor. Lift it up. To the right. Squat back. Extend up and over. Come back into the squat. Put your hands out towards the front of the mat. We'll take it one more time. Each side. Over to the left. Right arm comes up and over. Coming back. Into our dog. Over to the right. Extend out. Go back. And to the ground, down dog. Take a little breath in here. We're going to scissor the right leg to the sky. Pull the knee to the chest. And bring that foot to the ground. Let that knee come to the ground, untouch the toes. We're going to scoop the right arm forward into a twist. And we're going to make a big windmill. We're going to take the hand towards the back of the mat. Then turn the chest to the floor again. Extend out. Open the chest up. 2, 3. Bring it back. 5. Step into down dog. Take a breath. Use the exhale to scissor the left leg. Inhale at the top. Bring the knee through. Front of the mat. Back knee drops down gently, untucking the toes. Left hand comes forward. Inhale up. And round. 1. 2. So generally inhale up. And exhale back and down. 3. And 5. Step it back into down dog. We'll scissor the right leg high. Pull the knee in towards the calf. Bring the foot through. You drop the back knee, untuck the toes, and ease the hands onto this front thigh. And allow the arms to come out wide, first of all. Then bring the hands in towards the heart, keeping the elbows lifted. We're going to actually twist round over the front leg towards the right side. Drop the elbow to the outside of that thigh. Now it's your choice whether you want to lift the back knee at all or stay here. Either way, you're going to look at the front toe, big toe, for balance. If you want to lift, you just tap the toes on the back foot and press the heel away, and that will lift the knee. Rather than thinking about lifting the knee, you press the leg out, and the knee happens to follow. Bring the knee down, if it wasn't already. Bring the hands back to the floor. Step it back into our down dog. And we'll scissor the left leg. Lean towards the chest. Look through. Back knee down gently. Untuck the toes. Hands onto the front side. Lift up. Arms out wide as we inhale. Hands into the heart. Keep the elbows high. Rotate round. On the exhale, take a breath. Then fold. Toes on the back. Press that through the heel. Option to lift the knee is there. Release knee to the ground, hands to the floor. Step it back into our down dog. Feet are hip distance apart now. Going to scissor the right leg high. Come forward into plank. Half plank. Press it back into plank. Down dog. Bring the foot to the floor. Let's pick the left leg up. Come into three-legged plank. Forward to the half plank. Take a breath. Press back to plank. And scissor. Dog. Foot to the floor. Right leg comes up. You come forward. Half plank, elbows into the rib. Breath. Rest back. Lift up into dog. Foot to the floor. Left leg. Plank. Half plank. Rest it back. Down dog. Foot to the floor. Right leg. Sorry for this. Forward. Half plank. Plank. Dog. Foot to the floor. Last side. Left leg lift. Come forward into plank. Half plank. Take the breath. Rest away. Again, a little slower there. Back into dog. And feet to the floor. Ooh, enough of those. Let's get back down to the ground. Ooh, onto the heels. Little breath. I'm just going to bring the hands together. Allow myself to bring the forearms to touch. Roll the wrists around. And we'll go both ways. And take out the fingers. And then we'll back up on full fours. Make sure the hands are underneath the shoulders. Tuck the toe of the left foot and lengthen out. Press into the right shin to lift your left leg. Extend the right arm out. Superman pose. We'll take it into the twist. So we'll bend the back knee. Shoulder the foot to the sky. Put the arm out to the side. Let your head and eyes follow that hand until you see your foot. And then you can kind of bring the foot and the hand together because you know where they are. You can see them. And then we open the chest up more fully to the side. Press out to the chin. And release. Everything back down to the floor. Take a breath. We'll switch out. Right leg goes back. Lift the leg. Press into the chin. That just stabilizes and helps you keep your body over the center line. We'll take the left arm out. Bend the knee. Watch the hand go back. That's as much about twisting the spine as it is anything else. And then we want to work on the balance aspect a little bit in the chest and just pressing out. Release everything back down to the floor. You're going to take the feet out to the side. Sit back onto the block. Legs out into the front. Sitting up tall, we'll take the left foot to the outside of the right hip. Bring the right foot across. We want to tilt the pelvis forward. We're going to take the left arm up and move into the twist over towards the right side. And then we'll rotate. Untangle, we'll take it across to the other side. When we're ready, we'll hook that left leg across to the right. Remember to tilt the pelvis forward. We want both sitting bones on the ground. We come into the twist with gentle cantilever of the arm and leg to rotate round. And then release. We'll take the legs out. Feet are together, legs back a little bit, sitting up tall. We're going to take the right heel into the groin, knee out to the side. We'll put a bend into the front leg, we'll lift up. Now I'm going to allow myself to take the right hand forward and lean the body in. Then I'm going to take the right hand over to the outside, the little toe of the left leg. I start to look towards my left hand, which is out to the side of the mat. And then walk the left hand towards the back of the mat. And let the body sink down onto that thigh. A slightly twisted version of General Sushasana. The eyes and the chin looking towards that left hand. Just walk down the outside edge of the mat on the left. And I'm going to release, let myself come back up. Take it across to the other side. There's only a small variation, but we still give it time to develop. Bring hands either side, and then I'm going to walk that left hand forward. Take the hand across. Take hold of the little toe side. Walk the hand of the right down the right side, looking towards that hand. Feed ourselves in a little bit into the twist. So the front arm a little bit bent, just holding on to that front foot. And then we'll let ourselves lift back up out of that. We'll bring both heels in. Allow ourselves to come down onto all fours. We're walking the legs back. Need a little bit of space to the sides of the mat here at this point. We're going to sink ourselves down to the floor. Going to take a little breath here and just start to wiggle out the back of the hip and just bring the body down. So easing the chin onto the back of the hands or onto the forehead. Okay, so we should be ready. We're going to take the left leg heel towards us. We'll take the left hand back, find the toes. You want the palm of the hand pressing onto the bootleg side of the foot, bringing the heel in towards the buttock. So we want to try and feed that towards the sitting bone rather than the outside of the hip. I'm going to press the knee away and the thigh down. So it feels like we're lengthening that leg out. The elbow of the left arm is up towards the sky. We're squeezing the shoulder blade towards the spine, opening the front of the chest up at the same time. And now I'm going to release that leg gently down to the floor. Bring the hand back. Wiggle out the hips again. When you're ready, going to slowly draw the right foot in, put the hand back, arm on the bootlace side, and then lengthen the leg away, bring the heel towards the sitting bone, squeeze the shoulder blade in a little bit. And we can release them there as well. And we're just wiggling out through the hip. Going to move into bow pose now. So we're going to bend both legs. We want the feet about hip distance apart when we start. Bring the heels in. Take one hand back, find an ankle. In on the ground. Take the other hand around. A little bit of side wiggling from side to side. And then most of us, the hips are lifted a little bit off the ground. So we'll press the thighs down. Take a breath. Get that flexion into the ankles. We'll get a strong grip. Press the shins away and press the thighs down. So the spine starts to lift up from the ground. Squeeze the shoulder blades together to help it make some space. We try and get the pressure of the shins pressing forward, so backwards towards the back of the mat, away from us, and as even as possible in each leg. We take a breath here and start to press the soles of the feet towards the sky so the thighs will lift. And then we'll let the thighs back down. Release the hands, feet to the floor. Final wriggle out from side to side. And bring the feet more towards the center line this time. We'll take the hands out wide, palms down. And then all we're going to do is bend the left knee and we'll take the left foot towards the right hand. We'll do that by lifting the thigh up first, high as we can. Roll towards the right side, let the head come to the floor. Walk your foot as close to your hand as you can. Lift the knee back up, roll up high, and bring yourself back onto your body. You take a little breath, then the opposite leg. Lift the thigh as high as you can, so you can press down into the left as the right lift. And then we'll roll over, head to the ground. Put as close to your handy pandy as you can. Lift the high thigh, roll it back, and foot to the floor. So we want to try not to just collapse back into the ground. We want to control it, so we're working through the core muscles, the coordination, and a little bit of balance. We'll take that left leg towards the right foot. Lift it back up high. Roll it over gradually. Leg extends out. Bend the opposite leg, breath in. Lift up. Ease into the twist. Through and across. And back down. Lifting left leg. Left thigh. Roll to the side. Across. Back. Take it to the right. Lifting up. And across. And then back. Bring the hands underneath the ribs again. Heel away from the floor. We draw, lift one knee at a time forward, wide, heels together, and sit back and gently into child's pose. away from the ground. Going to take that block behind my toes, hands in front, set the toes underneath and coming in towards Malasana. So I want to allow the block and the heels to meet. Turn the toes out a little bit to make some space. I'm just still on the floor at the moment. You take this into a twist as well. So I'm going to take the left hand out to the side. So the arm is on the inside of the thigh and the knee, so leg and arm pressed against each other. Turn the chest as much as I can to the right, and then simply extend the arm out. So I'm not stretching the shoulder, I'm just extending the hand out, following the line from the bottom hand. And then I bring that hand back, come back to the center. I'm going to walk the right palm out with the body, allow myself to follow the line of the body, trying to keep the legs as far apart and open as I can. Actually pressing the groins outwards a little bit. And back again. Lean forwards, knees to the floor, just untuck the toes. I'll take the block out to the side. Move forward to the front of the mat, onto all fours, down dog. So draw the left leg in, bring the foot through, turn the body along the side of the mat, turn the toes inward, come up onto the fingertips, take a breath, allow myself to fold down. I'm going to try to walk the hands underneath a little bit. So if I drew a line between my 2 feet, the hands would be on that line. They're about shoulder distance apart. And then I'm going to squeeze the elbows together a little bit and press into the hands just enough to assist lifting the hips higher. To allow the back of the legs to open up more. It's particularly useful for people that have slightly bent legs in this pose. So completely straight legs, you still get a feeling of uplifting and taking the weight out of the legs. Breath in. We'll walk the hands forward. Now I'm going to turn the heels in, then the toes in, then the heels in again. I'm going to squat down so that my bottom is more or less the same height as my knees are from the ground. I want this thing to be vertical. Bring the hands onto the thighs. I'm going to try to keep the bottom low, put the tailbone forward, lift up. I'm not really pressing into the hands. It's more coming from the spine lifting itself up. Belly's drawn in. Last little breath. Going to fall down equally slowly. Bringing the hands to the floor. Wiggle the feet back out again. Nice and wide. And then I'm going to turn the toes of the rear foot out to the back of the mat. Walk the hands in. I'm going to squat down into a ninja squat. So onto one heel, the front leg lengthens out. I press out through the heel just a little bit. Come up onto the fingertips for a little bit of balance. And you can bring the hands in towards your heart if you have got a strong foundation through that bottom foot. And your knee feels happy. And obviously you feel you have your balance. So take one last breath. Hands to the floor if you lifted them. And then we'll stretch it out to the last side. So we'll just walk the fingers across to the front of the mat. Lift up as tall as you can, press out through the heels. So you want to feel this thigh contract a little bit towards you. And then we'll move back into the center. Nice and high, we'll turn the toes in. Take a little breath. I'm going to soften the knees, bring the hands onto the hips, elbows back, and let myself lift up on the exhale. Zigzag the toes together. Turn towards the front of the mat. I'm going to squat down nice and easily to the floor. Because believe it or not, it's time for Savasana. So fingers go back and make sure you've got enough room. Roll the spine down. Hip feet out to the corner. Hands by the side, palms up. And relaxing. So when you close the eyes, loosen the jaw. So there's two things you can do for that one. You could lick your lips. And the other one, you can let the tongue drift in the roof of the mouth. After a few breaths, you might find that you still have some more space if you wriggle out a little more. Your body kind of collapses into the understanding that there's some gravity and it can take advantage of it. And we just settle the breath and breathe. Begin to wriggle the fingers and the toes. The wrists and the ankles join in as you start to breathe a little deeper. You're going to use that energy to stretch out in any way that feels good to you. And we'll slide the heels if you haven't already along the floor, one leg at a time towards us. And bringing the legs in gently so we can take the hands around the feet. Let ourselves rock a little from side to side. Breathing in gently. And then we'll see if we can time with an exhalation. Roll the body simply over to the right side. And the legs all the way down to the ground. Then turning the chest into the same side of the mat. The hands come underneath the body and let you press away from the floor to smoothly move back up. And we're back into sitting. So dynamic stretches and strength work along with a lot of opening up for the spine and the posterior chain. Hopefully that makes us feel good and ready for the weekend. Thank you for joining me. Bring your hands towards your heart. Take a little breath in as you close your eyes. Into slowly exhale your next breath, letting your chin drop. Bending your belly, drawn to your spine, simply follow that bow to the floor, feeling your practice. And as you lift on the breath, let the head follow, eyes open. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me. Hope to see you on the mat again soon.